When you're on such a tight budget, you gotta make the most meta decisions to get every last bang for your buck, and starting with the CPU, you know we gotta go with a Ryzen APU like this 3200G. With 4 cores and 4 threads with a max boost up to 4 GHz, it's already a decent budget CPU by itself, but it also allows us to game now without having a dedicated graphics card and still achieve very playable FPS numbers in 1080p. Of course, the other main reason to go with a 3200G is that it allows you to upgrade to a better dedicated graphics card later on down the line, and that's exactly what we're gonna do in this video, because later on in the benchmarking section, we're gonna test both this as just a $400 build by itself, but then we're also gonna add a dedicated graphics card in there and test them both together. The other reason why a cheap Ryzen chip is the most meta right now is because it comes with a stock CPU cooler, and that certainly looks decent enough by itself if you manually rotate that logo, of course, but this also allows you to paint it, and you guys should hopefully know already how much I love doing this. This honestly saves like $20 to $30 in your total budget because you don't have to buy a different cooler, and when you're doing a basic color scheme like this where it's not hard to match the components, it just looks so much better for the 10 minutes of work of spray painting, which isn't difficult to do at all. So the PC that we're building today is obviously very fine-tuned and meta, but you can't forget that you should operate that same exact way with your own body, and one thing that can help you do that is Magnesium. This Magnesium breakthrough product from Optimizers isn't just your standard magnesium supplement though. This one blends all 7 essential forms of magnesium into one, and it doesn't use any synthetic additives or preservatives, which is often why most other magnesium supplements just don't work. Magnesium is a great addition to your own supplements because it can help you reduce stress, fatigue, and get better sleep, and that's honestly the reason why I've been taking it for several years now. But now I'm a little upgraded. This is a serious way to upgrade your body because not only does it provide better sleep for maximum performance the next day, but it also can help reduce stress, like I said, boost your immune system, and even help your body maintain a normal heart rhythm, all of which are very important to stay in peak meta performance. Optimizers is hooking up my first 100 viewers that use the discount code ZACH10. That'll save you 10%, and that's linked down in the description, and big thanks to them for sponsoring today's video. Moving through this parts list though, we have the RAM, and this is the Glowway 2x8GB kit that's clocked at 3200 megahertz, and when we're talking about the meta for white budget builds, this is the exact kit to use, ladies and gentlemen. This kit has been consistently available on Amazon for just $58 for several months now, and although we used to use kits like the White YOLO and sometimes even the Crucial Ballistics kit, this one has definitely taken the market by storm, and it's the best option for any white build under like $600 or $700. The motherboard this kit is plugged into is the Gigabyte B450 Aorus Pro Wi-Fi, but to be honest, this specific motherboard isn't necessarily the meta. It's more about choosing whatever the cheapest B450 board that you can find is on Amazon Warehouse. Amazon Warehouse has been consistently my #1 spot for buying used and cheap motherboards for literally years now, and buying the B450 platform is just such an efficient way for budget builds and especially budget flips, because B450 honestly works with like every Ryzen CPU, and it's just such an efficient pairing with a Ryzen 3 or a Ryzen 5. Next up we get to the SSD, and now here we'll talk about a slightly retired meta. These Intel 660p 512GB NVMe drives were consistently going on sale on B&H for just $45 over the last couple of months, and although I successfully sniped about 10 of these in total, their webpage now shows that it's discontinued, so it makes sense why they were on such a deep sale. If you're trying to put together a budget build like this, I personally haven't been consistently finding SSDs available, 500GB NVMe drives specifically, but whatever you do, just make sure that you find one at a really good price and use that SSD tier list that I'll have linked down in the description. That way you know you're getting a quality unit. One thing to mention, however, is that if you're using a super ugly all green PCB like this one, or sometimes they're an ugly blue, if you really care about aesthetics like I do, then you'll also have to buy one of these M.2 black heatsinks, which you can usually find for about $5. This does bring our SSD total up to $50 obviously, but having an ugly SSD exposed is the exact thing to do if you're trying to kill the aesthetics of what would otherwise be a good looking system. Check out how I did just that in this $450 build guide from a month ago. I still don't understand why I let that one slide. Moving on from our mistakes though, we get to the power supply, and this is honestly one of my favorite new metas in all of PC hardware. This is the Asus TUF 550 watt power supply, and it's been consistently going on sale on Amazon for around $35 to $41, and you just cannot beat it in terms of price to performance. It's 80+ bronze certified, but more important than that is that it's rated tier B on the power supply tier list, which I'll also have linked down in the description, along with literally everything else we talk about today. And it's been really tough to use any other power supply than this one right now. It also comes with a really neat sticker pack that you can use for cases that have a PSU cutout. Ours today unfortunately does not, but that option is available if you pick this one up. And speaking of our case, I am so happy to announce, oh my goodness, that these Montech Air 100 ARGBs are finally back in stock, and I've been waiting for literal months now, and hopefully our community of PC flippers are all equally excited as well. The ARGB version has been out of stock for like 6 months now, but it's now readily available on places like Micro Center and Newegg, and it costs around 70 to 75 bucks, which is really good. The reason why this one is so meta is because it's rocking a more budget-friendly micro ATX size, has a full PSU shroud, decent airflow on the front panel, it obviously looks super clean, and more important than all of that is that it comes with 4 pre-installed RGB fans. Those fans are connected in the back to an ARGB hub, which you can even daisy chain other ARGB products into, and for the price, this case is easily one of my all-time favorites, right above that Apivia Protege, which I've used so many times now. Now, the last meta product that I have for you guys today are the cable extensions. We're obviously going with Asia Horse again, but remember that these aren't necessarily meta for the price point. These are more meta because of just how good they look and how easy they are to use. In terms of installing the cable combs and bending them how you want, Asia Horse is easily the GOAT, or greatest of all time, and I've tried almost every brand of extensions out there at this point, and I keep coming back to these. The one thing to do with these, however, is that whenever you type Asia Horse cable extensions on Amazon, you're gonna only be shown this $26 kit, and this is definitely fine, especially if you want to use their super clean teal, purple, or red colors, but if you're using black or white, then you'll have to search specifically on the Asia Horse Amazon store page and find these $21 kits that only include 2 6+2 cable bundles instead of 2 6s and 2 8s separately. Quick little way to save some money there. All in all, here's what our $400 super meta PC is looking like, and honestly, you definitely can repeat all of these parts by themselves, or at least get very close to them. That SSD isn't really possible anymore, like I said earlier, but there's other $45 to $50 NVMe drives out there, and that Ryzen APU can certainly be replaced with a version that doesn't have integrated graphics if you're looking to throw a dedicated GPU in your build right off the bat. And speaking of which, the GPU we'll be adding to this build today is the OEM GTX 1650 Super that I bought from somebody that pulled it out of a pre-built system, but you can honestly go with any sort of GPU around this performance range that you can find a good deal on. Something like the GTX 1650 non-Super, or even some older cards like the GTX 970, 980, or an RX 580 would work perfectly inside a build like this. It all depends on how much you're willing to spend. Do note that the 1650 Super isn't even a perfect pairing with a 3200G, honestly. It'll cause just a slight CPU bottleneck, and something like the 1650 non-Super would be a better pairing, but remember that this will still give us much better results than the APU by itself. Now, like I said, I am going to show you the benchmarks for both with and without the dedicated graphics card, but I want to prove to you that just the 3200G by itself in this $400 build still produces a very playable budget 1080p gaming experience. So let's see what Sam can do in Apex Legends with just the 3200G. See, you can still dominate with an APU, and the cool thing is, whether you have the money right now or later on down the line, this build gives you the option to later on upgrade to a dedicated graphics card, and then you'll get much better results. Now it's time to show you those results for some more titles, both with and without the graphics card, so sit back and relax while we show these numbers, and then I'll be back to talk about this build here very soon. You gotta raise a little hell, and I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They say no to sleepless night. Will you find me? Hope you find me. While Sam was running those benchmarks, we did keep an eye on the temperatures, which obviously aren't going to be a problem for a setup like this, and here's the results that we got for both the CPU and the GPU. If you have $400 to spend, then I would absolutely recommend trying to copy this as closely as you can, but if you have a little bit more money, then I would recommend trying to copy this video right here.